Hi, good afternoon. I'd like to thank everybody for coming out for this press conference. This is a momentous day in Ware County for a case that has long gone unsolved. And I'd like to thank for your coverage and your attention to this matter. First thing I'd like to do is introduce the people that are standing up here with me. Of course, behind me I have Ware County Sheriff Carl James. Over here I have the Dougherty County District Attorney Greg Edwards, the Waycross Judicial Circuit District Attorney Marilyn Bennett, and GBI Inspector Ryan Carmichael. As you know, today's press conference is about the what's been known as the Ware Baby Jane Doe. On December 21st of 1988, the Ware County Sheriff's Office requested the GBI Region 4 office after finding remains of a child off Duncan Bridge Road in Millwood, Georgia, at an illegal dump site. You can see from this crime scene photo here, this is the location of where she was found. She was inside of an old TV cabinet, wrapped up in a blanket, inside of a duffel bag, inside of a trunk that had been encased in concrete. You can see also from the picture that this was a dump site. There's an old desk, there's other trash that's just been thrown out where they threw out this child. We also knew from that scene that there was a possible Albany connection due to an Albany Herald newspaper that was found nearby. Now, the initial investigators and agents that responded to this scene, they made multiple different attempts to try to identify her. They looked at local missing children reports, of which there were none that matched. They checked with local social service agencies that had no report of any child that could match that description. They looked at local, state, and national law enforcement message boards to provide information to try to get a response on a possible missing child that fit this description. They also utilized local, state, and national media releases to try to spread the story in an attempt to get a tip of who this missing child may be. They made comparisons to known missing children throughout the United States. These were in areas like Michigan, Pennsylvania, South Carolina, and many other states. This investigation continued on for years. There were multiple agents, multiple Ware County Sheriff's Office investigators that put their hearts and soul into this case. It wasn't until 2019 that a Region 4 agent began looking at DNA genome sequencing as a possibility for helping us identify this Baby Jane Doe. In 2022, using information that had been obtained from genealogy research based on DNA results, we were able to confirm a family connection in Albany, Georgia. At that point, we began comparing DNA from family members in that family tree to the extract of DNA from the Baby Jane Doe. We moved on to December of 2022, on the anniversary date of when Baby Jane Doe was found. We did a news release through the media, and a tipster called forward. She had heard the story of Baby Jane Doe, and she believed she may know who this little girl may be. She knew that there had been a child that had gone missing, and that her mother said that the child had gone to live with her father. This person never really believed that story and found that it just didn't believe it was true. We investigated this lead. In collaboration with the Ware County Sheriff's Office, we began tracking down that specific family tree, and that investigation led us to today. In June of 2023, we were able to confirm that the child was 5 years old, Kenyatta Odom. Kenyatta was affectionately known as Kiki. Now, during this investigation, the National Center for Missing and Exploited Children had conducted a forensic rendering of what they believed Baby Jane Doe looked like. And here we have a comparison of that rendition to the picture of Kenyatta. The investigation didn't stop there. Since this summer, we have continued to conduct interviews and other investigative acts to try to determine what caused the death of Kenyatta Odom. Based on that investigation, on November 1st, we were able to secure a true bill on a grand jury indictment for Kenyatta's mother, Evelyn Odom, also known as Zemeka Luciano, and Evelyn's live-in boyfriend at the time, Ulysses Sanders Sr. Both Evelyn and Ulister were charged with 5 counts, 1 of felony murder, 1 of cruelty to children in the first degree, 1 of aggravated battery family violence, 1 count of concealing the death of another person, and 1 count of conspiracy to conceal the death of another person. Both Evelyn and Ulister were arrested without incident on Thursday, November 9th, 2023. Finally, after almost 35 years, not only were we able to identify her remains of who Baby Jane Doe was, but we were also able to make the arrest of those that we believe were responsible. This work was not done alone. While the GBI was requested to work the case, and the Ware County Sheriff's Office was always by our side, assisting in any way possible, we also had other partners. The Waycross DA's office consistently provided us advice and feedback on investigative processes so that we could be sure that we had the strongest case possible. When it was determined that Kenyatta's death occurred in Dougherty County in the Albany area, we began to confer with the Dougherty County DA's office, who continued to provide excellent advice and pushed us to continue on with investigative leads to try to secure the case. The GBI Department of Forensic Science was always there to help us understand the ever-emerging DNA technology that was coming forward, how we could use it in this case. The GBI Medical Examiner's Office proved vital as we ended the days of the investigation prior to the arrest in helping us ensure that we had what we believed were the right people. The National Center for Missing and Exploited Children, also known as NCMEC, they have been involved with this from the beginning. In 2009, they met with us and helped us post investigative findings and attempt to find new information. They also did this work of the rendering of what they believed Baby Jane Doe looked like. The National Missing and Unidentified Persons System, also known as NAMUS, was another partner that helped us to get the word out about Kenyatta. The University of North Texas was instrumental in helping us extract DNA and make comparisons while we were conducting the investigation. Gene by Gene, Othram, Innovative Forensic Investigations are also 3 organizations that were essential in determining the match between Kenyatta and Baby Jane Doe. I'd also like to thank an anonymous donor that provided a $5,000 reward in December of 2022 that helped us get information that we needed to secure this case. I'd also like to thank the Cook County Sheriff's Office and the Lenox Police Department. They were vital in helping us locate Evelyn at the time of her arrest. Right now, I'd like to turn the mic over to Sheriff Carl James.
Thank you. Just a couple of comments. I'm Ware County Sheriff Carl James. First, I would like to say thank you to the person that came forward with the tip, the information that led to the solving of this case, and to the Ware County citizen that came forward with the $5,000 reward. This case has always been a special interest to me because I was one of the responding detectives back on December the 21st, 1988. A little after 12 p.m. that day, I, along with Detective Peggy Gwynn, received a radio call to respond to Duncan Bridge Road in the Millwood community about a death investigation. Upon my arrival, I was really not prepared for what we were about to find. That is, the body of a little girl who we now know as Kenyatta Odom had been discovered in a wooded area a short distance from the roadway. From that time forward, hundreds of leads and tips have been investigated and followed up by the Sheriff's Office and the GBI. It is because of the diligence of the many criminal investigators, forensic specialists, prosecutors, and others over the years that we're able to be here today with this case having come to a successful conclusion. So again, I would like to say thank you to everyone that had a helping hand in solving this case. This is a great example of what can happen when agencies collaborate and work together. And in conclusion, I would like to remind everyone that where unsolved cold cases are concerned, investigators are always working on these cases. Even though the public may not see any progress for months or even years, they are still being investigated and worked on. Thank you. So at this time, I would like to introduce Greg Edwards, the Doherty District Attorney.
Good morning, or good afternoon. I'd rather just say a few other things in relation to the cooperation of these agencies that you've been introduced to. Well, to begin with, this case was a traumatic event for this community, Ware County. But I have viewed all of our efforts as a whole community for the state of Georgia. Working with District Attorney Bennett, we began to review the case, and looking at all the information being gathered, it became clear that Doherty County was the area where this matter should be brought to trial. To begin with, every community must do everything it can to protect its children, its disabled, and its senior citizens. And how we do this reflects directly on the character of our communities. And it reflects on the character of our state, that our agencies have worked diligently to bring this matter to the point where we can seek final justice for Kenyatta. And that's what we intend to do. We intend to bring this matter forward. The indictment has been returned by the grand jury of Doherty County, and the matter will proceed to trial. As the prosecuting officer in this matter, I cannot comment as much as I would like to regarding the evidence, but the thing is that we believe that there is evidence beyond a reasonable doubt that will lead to justice being found for Kenyatta. And again, I want to thank the relentless efforts of the Georgia Bureau of Investigation, the efforts of the Ware County Sheriff's Department, the efforts of the District Attorney for this judicial circuit, D.A. Bennett. All of these efforts have coalesced into this point where we can finally find justice for Kenyatta. Agent Seekers.
I'd like to reiterate what you just heard Sheriff James and DA Edwards say. This cold case is a collaborative effort. We have worked, as I've mentioned earlier, multiple organizations, but specifically within law enforcement, the amount of collaborative effort between the GBI and the Ware County Sheriff's Office is what brought us to this conclusion. We have worked with them every day, working on finding the answers here. But I think the bigger picture is not just even on this case, but also on all cold cases. The work that is done on cold cases is typically behind the scenes. There can be a thought that maybe these cases are forgotten about, that maybe they've just been pushed to the back burner, but that is absolutely not the case. Every quarter, the GBI reviews their cases that each agent carries, both current and cold cases. Every quarter, we review what investigative acts need to be done for the next quarter. These cases are not forgotten. And just because you don't see us out there actively working out in the public does not mean that that work is not being done. That work is being done every day by a dedicated group of agents along with the local investigators that they work with. But not only are they also working on cold cases, they continue to work their current cases. Our success rate in current cases is not as widely known, but every day we are securing arrests, and working with DA's offices, we are securing prosecutions of these arrests. I can tell you that on average, at our office at Region 4 in Douglas, for the last 3 years, we've worked 16 death investigations a year. We've worked 5 child molestations a year on average. We've worked 6 sexual assaults every year on average. We've worked 6 use of force cases every year on average. We are working upwards of 50, 60, and 70 violent criminal cases every year, all while working on cold cases, trying to get these to a conclusion. And we do that over a large geographic area. In our office, it's 11 counties. That is a significant amount of work that is being done every day. Right now, what I'd like to do is recognize the agents and the investigators that have put their heart and soul into this case. I'd like the agents from Region 4 to come up front, as well as Major Neil Scarrett and Investigator Misty Thrift. These are the groups that are out there every day working these cases, making sure that they come to a successful conclusion. They spend their nights away from home. They spend their weekends away from home. They spend their holidays away from home. They are called out at 11, 12, 1, 2 a.m. when people don't realize what's really going on. They'll work 24, 48, 72 hours away from home before they ever come home again to get some rest. They do this consistently. They do this with extreme dedication, and it is something that is never seen and that we need to speak more about. The time they spend away from home making sure that these cases are successfully prosecuted is important. It's important to them, it's important to our communities, it's important to our state, and it's important to our nation. These are the ones that are doing the real job out here. Of particular notice, I'd like Special Agent Taylor Hunley to come up. Agent Hunley joined us in 2019. She was a Waycross native. She grew up hearing about this case and was always specifically interested in it. When she got to our office, she requested to be able to have this case assigned to her as a cold case. I have never seen anyone work so hard to be sure to try to find an answer for a cold case as what I've seen Agent Hunley. Her work is commendable, and most of the time it's unseen. But it's been her dedication, along with the support of these other agents and these other investigators, that got us to where we are today, and that will continue us forward through a successful prosecution. Thank you, Taylor. Now, does anybody have any questions?
Maybe Jeffrey's first question is, any idea on motive of why she was killed?
I think at this time, any direct comments about the investigation I need to steer clear of for right now and let that come out in the prosecution.
Agency, first naturally filing is for Jackson. Do we know where Kenyatta's actual father is? Any information about him?
We are actively trying to locate her father. The identity of her father has been a little bit of a secret over the years, but we are continuing to use our investigative tools to try to identify him.
The two individuals who were arrested, do they have any other children?
They do.
Okay, hi, Ashanti Isaac, WLB. Where is the location of the mother right now? Is she in Doherty County?
My understanding is she was booked in the Doherty County Jail last week, although I've had several questions, so I'm not sure if there's been a mix-up. She was arrested in Cook County. It was the Cook County Sheriff's Office and the Lenox Police Department that assisted us with that arrest once we located her. But it was my understanding she was going to be transported to Doherty County.
And does the statute of limitations apply to this case? And if so, can you elaborate why or why not?
There is no statute of limitations on murder. As to the other statutes, I would defer to the District Attorney's Office to discuss the technicalities there.
Nick Gibson here from Action News Jacks. My first question is, kind of why did it take so long for you guys to get here now today? If you can maybe elaborate on that. Very
good question. Primarily the forensic technology has changed. It has changed the investigative landscape. In 1988, I don't even know that DNA was on any investigator's mind. The genealogy work that is being done was nowhere near the capacity that it is today. Note that at the time, multiple media releases were made. I would say even in the first 12 months or 6 months of Baby Jane Doe being found, and a response was just never gotten. Every lead that was followed ended up not matching our remains. As to why that takes so long, you have to look at the investigative process and the forensics that have developed. As I said, in 2019 was when we started looking at DNA genome sequencing. And then once you get into that, and if you want to get the technicals, you extract the DNA, and then you have to start trying to make matches, and you can track that through some genealogy research, but sometimes that only gets you so close. And in this case, it got us close enough to realize there was an Albany connection, but it actually wasn't close enough to get us directly to the mom or the dad. It was a tipster that finally came forward that provided us the final break that we needed. So sometimes it's just a matter of the information. It's not magic to work an investigation. We need the cooperation of witnesses and members of the public and the media to help get this done, and it came together here. I would say in this case that the mother had provided a story to family members over the years, and it just took a long time for them to finally question that.
That tipster, were they close to the family? Was that a family member? Do we know that by chance?
I'd rather not provide that at this time. So.
To clarify, Mr. Sanders, was he a live-in boyfriend or a stepfather?
He was a live-in boyfriend
And also, where was he taken into custody?
in Doherty County. Yes, sir. That's correct. We received the tip in January of 2023.
Is that the story you and I did together?
It may have been. Yes, ma'am.
Can you say what the official cause of death was for the baby?
So the medical examiner at the time ruled the manner of death homicide with an undetermined cause of death. That will not change, although the medical examiner's office has been reviewing the records based on new information that we've obtained during the investigation.
The indictment that was released mentioned hot water and burns. Can you elaborate on that?
I'm not going to elaborate on anything in the indictment based off just what I've said here today. All right. Thank you again. We do appreciate you coming to the press conference. More importantly, getting the word out that Baby Jane Doe is no longer unnamed, is no longer unknown. The baby that was thrown out into a trash pile has been identified, and we're working to bring justice to her. Kenyatta Odom, that's the name we want out there. Kiki. Thank you.
Is it possible to get shots for these two individuals? How does that work, sir?
You'd have to go through the jail. We don't have the mug shots.
And I want to follow up, guys. I have a news release that I'm going to hand you, and then any follow-up questions, you can just email public affairs.
All right, thank you.
Sure, I know, y'all are coming up on me. Yes, like I said, if we go. Yeah. Yes. No, we already talked about all that.